Welcome to the Default Profitable Podcast. You're listening to the next episode, and today we're going to talk about what it takes to start, run, and grow home services businesses. We'll have some successes, some failures, and some actual stories from a real business owner. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton, and today my guest is Joel Sheets. Joel, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Hey, listen, we don't really know each other. Why don't we take 2 or 3 minutes to introduce yourself, and then we'll come back and introduce your business. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right.
I'm Joel Sheets. I'm one of the owners of the Black Tie Builders company, and I live here in Carmel. I have 3 little boys that keep me really busy, and ultimately my dream is to get my kids into the business, but just want to make sure that I have time with them in running a business and having quality time with them. So that's a little bit about me.
How old?
5, 3, and like 18 months. So we are learning, exploring, doing a lot of new stuff. I had built out a really cool like playhouse, and so they have a zip line, they have a climbing wall, they have a cool playhouse. So we do a lot of things in the winter to try to keep them busy, because if you don't, it's a lot.
Are they all three boys?
All 3 boys, yeah.
Whew. Oh.
I'm the youngest of 3 boys, so I think my wife just, after the first 2, she was just like, hey, if we're going to do another one, we know it's going to be a boy, and we know how to do boys, and it's fun.
Well, she is a brave woman. I have a 25-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 16-year-old.
Oh,
and
wow.
Only the oldest is a boy. And I'll tell you, they flip, right? Yes. When boys are younger, they're really hard because they break things and they hurt things and they throw things and they eat things. And once they hit about 12, they just smell funny and eat a lot. And if you can deal with that, you'll be fine.
That's what I've heard. And then, we have some friends that the girls will come over and they're okay just coloring or, playing. Boys are a little bit different than the volume, the amount of breakage. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. That's good fun, though. So, All right. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so Black Tie Builders, we're a home exterior remodeler. We specialize really in updating the look and performance of homes. So we kind of operate more like a custom home builder, where we spend a lot of time on the front end as far as like designing out the look of it. Most of the time, our customers have bought this house. They don't really have their input on what it looks like. And then this is their first opportunity to really make this home theirs. So whether that's styles, colors, we kind of throw everything out there. And then based on the design, we can facilitate that with a couple different materials selections, depending on what the budget is. I think a lot of companies would just be happy with replacing the old material with new material that looks exactly the same. That just seems like a big miss to me, because there is such a great opportunity in changing up the look of a home, because it's different when you pull up to a house, the one that you bought versus the one that you got to remodel, because, that one's more yours. So that's a little bit about what we do. So we do roofing, siding, gutters, windows, and doors. Anything on the outside of the house is pretty much our specialty. It's harder to do stuff inside of houses just based on taking someone's kitchen away or bathroom away. We kind of just like what we get to do.
All right. So when did you start the business?
So we started the business in 2023. I have 3 other business partners, and it just worked out. We all have our own specialty roles within the company that we all had experience in. And when we were looking at starting a business, it just worked out that we had like the all-star team come together and be able to do what we do. And we've gotten it to the point that we've been able to do that really well and help out a lot of homeowners.
So, listening to you talk about the stuff that you built for your kids and talk about how you take these houses and let people make it their own. What is the passion that made this the right thing for you to do?
Yeah, so I grew up being really handy. My dad was one to always, he wanted to fix it himself. He actually built our home, designed and built our home So he knew every little nook and cranny of it and how it worked. And we were always doing projects. I did a lot of projects for my uncle growing up, but going into college, I didn't think that this was going to be the industry that I got into. I just thought it was just going to be something that, I was always going to be kind of handy and doing stuff around the house. But then when I got introduced into the business about 15 years ago, I just kind of fell in love with it. I kind of nerd out on building materials and building science to be able to deliver, the best quality and value project that I can. But it's definitely a passion of mine. If you look at my podcast list and my reading list, it's just dominated with industry specific construction, building science stuff because I truly do love it. I love what I get to do. And I think a lot of my clients that get to work with me, they see that come out because I really just kind of interject myself into the project just to show them what's possible, what's out there, and what we can do.
Now, you said that you have 3 other partners, so there's 4 guys. Each has a different specialty. What is your specialty?
So my specialty is really the design aspect and sales. So 2 of us really kind of specialized on the front end sales part of it. I do a little bit more of the difficult designs where maybe we're adding on a porch or we're really looking at like changing up materials and we're getting into renderings and visualizations and some like computer programs that really can kind of show the vision of what these people want. So that's really kind of my role and where my passion lies is that design aspect of it and really kind of knowing what materials are out there that could be a really good fit for the client.
All right. And so you started 2 years ago. What were you doing before that?
My partners and I all had experience in the industry. I worked for a contractor for about 12 or 13 years and really kind of helped them scale up the business. So with their exterior remodeler, similar to what we do now, but they had more of a storm restoration beginnings, and we expanded that to a couple different other cities, and then ultimately scaled that business up to the point that the owners were acquired by another company. So I loved that aspect of what I was able to learn and kind of grow within the business. So part of scaling up a business is giving up a lot of the ability to be really hands-on and kind of micromanage projects. We were doing a top line $25 million worth of revenue at that business, and you just didn't have the ability to know everything that's going on in all of those projects. So when we decided to start Black Tie Builders, it was with the intention of staying small. I want to be able to know and take a homeowner through the entire process. From start to finish, there is really no handoff. They're getting to see the same face from the very start to the very finish. And that's the most satisfying part of it to me, is being integral to every little part and piece of that and seeing them like handing over the keys or showing them the final product and really seeing them see a lot of value in that and be really happy with the end result.
So, I mean, you had experience scaling and watching revenue explode.
Yep.
And you had experience doing the building. And you clearly understood the design and you can do the sales thing. What was it when you ended up in the big chair as an owner? What was it that you had to learn that you were surprised by?
There was a lot of back end, accounting, reporting, insurance, all the stuff that like I wouldn't say like anyone like loves to do, that I really had to fully understand, because ultimately it's not just me and my family that are relying on this company to be successful, but we have, I have 3 other partners in it, and those partners all have families. So I really had to be able to know that the financials worked for the company, that we're making decisions that were going to be good for not only myself, but for all of the families involved. So I just didn't have exposure. I was more external or like sales focused, and I didn't really have as much of the accounting and back end. But if you get a good accountant and you get a good lawyer, those things just pay off because they allow me and my other partners to do what we do. We had those other things taken care of and well attended to, and it allows us to free up to do what we like to do.
Well, I will tell a consistent theme over the past 120 episodes has been don't save money on your attorney and don't save money on your accountant.
I actually heard that from another podcast, and I just smiled because sometimes it does feel like oh, what are they really doing to earn that much? And then you just kind of have to hand it over and like, hey, that is good money to spend because it's less stress, less headache,
yes,
and not worried about it.
Yeah. So you guys get this all set up. You've been in it 2 years. I'm assuming you've grown.
Yeah. I mean, when you start at like zero, it's always a upward curve. But we were able to do enough, and the size of projects to do well, and make sure everyone is well taken care of. And like I said, our goal is not to really scale this up. We want to be able to do a few more projects per year, but it's time with our families. It's doing really quality work, and we have maybe a niche in staying small versus everyone that is kind of more so focused in scaling up and getting bigger.
Now, do you guys have permanent subs, or are you using outside contractors?
So we're using outside contractors, but I think the benefit for us versus a company that's brand new into the industry is that a lot of the install partners or subcontractors, we call them install partners, because we worked with these people for 10, 15 years. Like, I know the guys on my crew. I know that they are going to execute the details that I agreed on with the homeowner, and they're doing everything that I would do, that I just don't have time to throw on the tool bags and nail every shingle. But these guys are being able to execute to our standards, and they know exactly how we want it. So that's the most efficient we can be.
Okay. If somebody else were to come to you and say, hey, listen, I'm working for a big contractor. I want to get out and I want to do my own thing. Not that there aren't a million contractors out there right now, right?
Yes.
But they said, hey, what do I need to know? What do you tell me to do first? Where do you go?
Well, I think my first thing would just be try to gain all of the skills and experience within the organization that you're working with now. So become really diverse in what you know. And maybe that means, taking on a different role within the company. But whenever you can get paid to learn versus going out there on your own and, trying to just figure it out, like, that can be very costly. So if you can get paid to learn and there's opportunities within those organizations, then I would say definitely take that. And then if the opportunity arises, or you get to that point that you really think that, hey, I want to do this by myself, or I think I have a niche that I can fulfill that this other company wasn't fulfilling, then that is your cue. That's your signal to say, okay, this is my time to see if I can be an entrepreneur and I can make it on my own. Otherwise, like, if you can find what you need within another organization, like, I think that's great, because I did that. I worked for the same father and son for 13 years and had a great experience with it, and I got to learn so much, but I got that signal at some point and knew it was time for myself.
Okay. If 2025 Joel could go back and sit next to 2023 Joel, night before you guys formalize black tie, you say, hey, listen, tomorrow you're going to go in. There's a million different things you could do. But here's the thing that you should do first. Here's the one thing that you start with. What would that one thing be?
I'm going to say just like being able to really know that less can be more. In the sense that, if the old adage is like, if you want it done right, do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, not trying to get really big fast and just focus on the details and like oversee that and get it done right. Because the projects that we had and the clients that we were able to work with, at the end of the day, the happiest situations or with the homeowners and, the most profitable jobs were the ones that we like really control the details on. And I would say like the less you give up, the better it's going to be for everybody involved.
Okay. And is there any other advice that you would give somebody who's a new business owner or somebody who's just jumping into this?
Yeah, I'm one of those people, like I don't know how people don't have like a passion for what they do and like the nerd out on things. So like I know some people say like don't have a passion for what you do. You just, it just facilitates you, getting a paycheck or whatever. But like I think there's opportunities within different things that if you do have a passion and you really have a love for it, that you can make a business out of it. But I think you should really try to educate yourself as much as possible. Know the ins and outs of the business, not just one part of that. So before you jump in 2 feet into creating your own business, you really need to know how a business operates as a whole instead of just being really good at just one little piece of it.
Yeah, that one little piece that interests you. I think Stephanie Daly early on, the Send a Friend Lasagna, she said, if you're not comfortable waking up at 3 a.m. and thinking about all of your business, probably a pretty good idea not to go into it.
Yeah, because you do. You either go to sleep thinking about the stuff that you didn't get done, or you wake up early knowing that you got to get done what you need to get done. And so you're pulling in a lot of different directions. You wear a lot of different hats running a small business, but that should, for me, that's what excites me about it. I've never had the same day ever, and I never want to have the same day. I never want to do the exact same thing on each day, because that's what excites me. It's the possibility of what that day is going to bring as far as opportunities to get better, and then relationships to kind of grow with new clients and new customers and vendors and things like that.
That's cool. Well, that I think, there's so much stuff in there. Like you were smart enough to start a business with people that had expertise you didn't have.
Yeah.
You hired the outside stuff for expertise that none of you had, attorneys and accountants.
Yeah.
And you really focused on what you wanted to say no to, which you didn't want to do $25 million of work. You wanted to be intentionally small and high touch. So those are all good, just good basic tips. So,
and we're just hoping it works out.
You got a couple of years in. It seems to be working pretty well based on the feedback that I've gotten before we spoke. So,
yeah. And that's all we want to do. I think the ultimate goal for all of us is that if we can bring our kids into the business and they have an interest in that, like I would just love that. But for right now, we're really intentional with our time with our kids and our families. And, you just don't get that all the time. Sometimes they require you, a business might require you to work Saturdays and Sundays, or so we can kind of pick and choose. And if our kids are sick, then our customers know like we might have to reschedule something, and they understand because they're parents and they have families.
Well, I will just tell you, as the father of a 24-year-old and a 25-year-old, it is nice that you want to bring your kids into the business, but trust me, you got a while to go before you even know that they don't want to be circus performers.
Yeah.
So
are your kids interested in doing what your business? No. Okay.
No. My son's in sales, but he is never going to do what I do. And my daughter wants nothing to do with sales. She works with autistic kids. And then my junior in high school, God only knows.
Hey, the world's their oyster, so they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out, and they'll always be different. I was different than my dad in the end. You're different than your dad. You just kind of do your thing, and it all works out. So
you find your way.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to remind everybody who's listening that if you have questions or want to reach out to Joel or his business, you can find contact information in the show notes at defaultprofitable.com. As a listener, there's 3 ways you can really help us. You can subscribe, you can leave a review, or you can share an episode with somebody. Joel, I want to thank you for being a great guest.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. And for all our listeners, we'll be back next week with the next episode of Default Profitable. Until then, stay focused, keep working, stay profitable.